Good afternoon, students, and welcome to our ICT 9 third quarter week 6 discussion. This is Aljay Buian, your ICT 9 subject teacher. So, for this week's discussion, we will be talking about techniques for diagnosing computer systems. And these are the objectives for this week's discussion. So, at the end of the lesson, the students will be able to A. Identify the techniques for diagnosing computer systems. B. Recognize the rules in diagnosing computer systems. And C. Perform the techniques for diagnosing computer systems. Okay, now let's begin discussing about computer diagnosis. So sometimes when the problem with a system is not totally apparent and the problem may be intermittent, and using a basic common diagnostic procedure may help determine what is wrong. So this procedure has a number of steps that, if followed each time, it can be of help. So we have a rules in diagnosing computer systems. So first, we should know the facts. So educate oneself on all aspects and operation of computer parts. So if you have any information or knowledge about the computer operations or aspects of our computer, we may not be able to fix our computer if it has a problem, which is easy naman. Then another is continuous learning on computers technology. So as time goes by, we should let ourselves learn more about technology, because nowadays we are using technologies like computer, cell phones, and any other devices which are technology or an example of technology. So we need to have a continuous learning about that. Then second, use your common sense. So when diagnosing computer systems, we need this common sense, because it may also help us to fix our computer when we diagnose computer systems or parts of our computer systems or any technology that we are using. Number 3, we have focus on field replaceable units. So identify the different types of FRU that can be used for replacement or sub-assembly. So when diagnosing computer system, you need to focus on the field or replaceable units. So yung mga parts ng ating computer that it can be replaceable. So it might be damaged or something, sira na talaga yung part ng computer na yan. So we need it to replace. So we need to focus on field replaceable units. Fourth, we have proper assembly and disassembly. So in diagnosing computer systems, this is the part that we also need to know, the proper assembly and disassembly of our computer system. Because if we don't know how to assemble and disassemble computer or our PC, we may not be able to fix our computer problem. So it is very essential that we need to assemble or know assembly and disassembly. Then fifth, we have factors causing computer failures and defects. So we need to know about these factors that can cause computer failures and defects. So first, we have peopleware. So untrained personnel would probably damage programs in PC. So that is why we need to have a knowledge about computers and also have a continuous learning about it, because we might be able to damage our computers if wala tayong alam kung paano, or we don't know how to use it carefully. Then next, we have the firmware. So firmware are programs or software burnt in chips may be corrupted. So firmware explains that some of our the chips of our computer or the part of our computer that is burnt or parang nasusunog na, and then also uh, it's something corrupted na talaga yung yung part ng ating computer. So that is the firmware. And then next we have the software. So software or corrupted operating systems would cause the system to fail. So example of the software is the operating systems. So if it is corrupted, then it would cause to our system to fail. Parang it will not work anymore. Then also we have hardware. So these are defective hardware components would lead to computer malfunction. So if our the parts of our computer has defects, it will lead to the computer malfunctioning. Then also hardware conflicts and viruses can hinder your computer's performance. So if these viruses and the hardware conflicts will band together, it will hinder your computer's performance, or it will neglect you from using your computer. Then we also have ESD or electrostatic discharge. So electrostatic discharge can easily damage sensitive components in your computer. So if we touch, just like for example in the picture on the right side, if you touch the memory chip with your bare hands, it will cause an electrostatic discharge. So it will damage your part of or it will damage your microchip or the chip. So that is the CPU, which is the brain of our computer. So if you touch it with your bare hands, then it will get damaged or have a electrostatic discharge. Then also we have electricity. So incoming supply from AC outlet must be regulated. So power surges can damage computer units. So electricity may also damage our computer. So if we will not be able to use it correctly, our electricity, it will have a damage on our computer units. So that is why we need to also have to know about electricity on how to use it on our computer parts. Okay, now let's talk about problem isolation. So problem isolation is a detective work in which you need to determine what is out of the ordinary by making detailed observation of what is not working normally and record any information as you proceed. So the information you will be able to gather will help diagnose your computer. So you need to observe wisely. Look for any abnormalities in the unit and any changes or in smell or foreign smell. Then also listen to all the sounds and error codes. So that is one way to diagnose our computer. Then we have also the component isolation. So this section will aid in determining components in your system which are failing. So first, most systems have three major components: the monitor, system unit, and the printers. So some have multiple external devices. To troubleshoot, you need to isolate major components which are failing to operate. So kung nasa monitor yung defect, then you need to set aside the system unit and printers. Then focus on fixing the monitor, and so as to the system unit and the printers. So that is how you isolate component from in fixing it or fixing the computer. Okay, so let's proceed in diagnostics procedure for ATX power supply failure. So in diagnosing procedure for ATX power supply failure, we need to first determine whether or not the power comes on, and then check the switch operation with a digital voltmeter on the continuity or resistance setting. Then third, check the pins if the corresponding voltage are properly regulated to the motherboard, and then replace the power supply unit if defective. So we need to check every part of our power supply because it might have some defects on its parts. Then also we need to use a digital voltmeter so we can test if our power supply is still working. Then for also the pins of our power supply, we need also to check it so that it might be fixed if it has loose pins or any part of it. Then also if pag defective talaga yung power supply, we need to replace it. Then so we have here an illustration for ATX version 1.22 20 wire motherboard connector. So pin 1, pin 2, pin 3, pin 4 to pin 10. So these are the pins for ATX version 1.2 to 20 wire motherboard connector. So these are used in giving electricity to our motherboard. Then next we have the flow chart for ATX power supply repair. So warning, you must unplug your ATX power supply from the wall before working inside the case. So this is the ATX diagnostic chart. Okay, so when you are working inside the case, or when you want to fix the part of your system unit, you need to power off the power supply so that it will stop from transferring or distributing electricity to the parts of the system case. So look at the ATX diagnostic chart. So it has the when the power comes on, so the live screen will have its Now let's proceed to the next. So these are the things to consider in fixing our computer. So there are many devices, parts, cords, and connections on a computer, which means that there are many possible problems that could arise. So in addition, your computer uses a variety of software, which can also causes problems. However, no matter what the problem is, you can use the following tips to help you find a solution. Always check the cables. Many computer problems are related to an issue in the cables and connections. So the easiest first step you can take to troubleshoot most problems is to check all related cables and connections. Then next, we have to isolate the problem. So if possible, try to isolate the problem. For example, if you can get the cursor to move on the screen, try to determine if the issue is with the mouse. So if you have an extra mouse, you can alternate devices to see if the one plugged in is the issue, or use the arrow keys on the keyboard to help determine if the mouse is the source of the problem. So when trying to add the problem, only make one change at a time. Then take notes about error messages. So if your computer gives you error messages, be sure to write down as much information as possible. So if the very basic troubleshooting steps don't work, you may need the information. So taking notes of error messages is very important because we might be able to fix our computer if we have taken note about the error messages, because these error messages will warn us about our computer's defects. Then remember the steps you have taken or write them down. Once you start troubleshooting, you will want to remember what you have done so you don't repeat it yourself. So if you can't remember it, then write it down. So if you end up asking someone for help, it will be much easier if they know exactly which steps you've taken. So when you are fixing or fixing your computer, you need to have a note or writing your steps, the steps that you have taken for fixing the computer, so that you won't be able to forget at the next time you encounter another problem of your computer. So that's it. And then let's move on to the simple solutions to common problems. So most of the time, problems can be fixed by using simple troubleshooting techniques, so such as closing and reopening the program. So it's important to try these simple solutions before resorting to more extreme measures. So if the problem still isn't fixed, you can then try other troubleshooting techniques such as reinstalling the software. So there are many simple solutions to our common problems of our computer. We can search it on or in the internet. So there are so many ways on how to solve these common problems. Now let's talk about programs run slowly or isn't working right. So if a program is running slowly or otherwise isn't working right, the first thing you should try is closing the program and reopening it. Then you can also shut down your computer, wait a few seconds, and boot it up again. Some minor problems will work themselves out when you do this. Then third, we need to check with the company for any known problems or updates to the software. So just like the illustration below for checking for new software or updates. Then next, program is completely unresponsive. So if a program has become completely unresponsive, you can press and hold Ctrl-Alt-Delete on your keyboard to open the task manager. So you can then select the program that isn't working and click End Task. So if you are using a Mac, you can press Option plus Command and ESC or Escape to open a similar dialog box. So when you click or press and hold Ctrl-Alt-Delete or Option plus Command and Escape, it will automatically lead you to the or open you to the Windows Task Manager, and then you can navigate it on in fixing your computer. The next, problems starting or shutting down the computer. So power button will not start computer. So in the illustration below, it is resetting a surge protector. So if your computer does not start, begin by checking the power cord to confirm that it is plugged securely into the back of the computer case and the power outlet. So it might be the cause of your problem. Then another, if it is plugged into an outlet, then make sure it is a working outlet. So it can also be the problem, the outlet that we are using. Then it often this will require you to plug a lamp or other electrical device into the outlet to make sure it is receiving power. So you might need to use or plug any other electrical device to make sure your outlet is working. Then if the computer is plugged into a surge protector, then verify that it is turned on. Then you may have to reset the surge protector by turning it off and then back on, just like in the illustration above by resetting a surge protector. Then you can also plug a lamp or other device into the surge protector to verify that it is on also. Then if you are using a laptop, the battery may not be charged. So plug the AC adapter into the wall and then try to turn on the laptop. So if it still doesn't start up, you may need to wait a few minutes and then try again. So that is how you fix problems starting or shutting down the computer. Then we have non-system disk or disk error message. So if you get this message when you boot up your computer, it usually means there is a CD, DVD, or USB flash drive or floppy disk in your computer which is interfering with your computer's booting process. So remove the disk from the drive and then restart the computer. So the illustration below shows the non-system disk or disk error messages. So it might be there are CD or DVD or any USB flash drive that is connected to your computer. So you might remove it first and then try to reopen your computer. Then it will start up and then you might be able to see the problem. If the problem is the CD, DVD, or the flash drive or the floppy disk that you are connecting to the computer. Then we have Windows shutting down message will not disappear. So sometimes Windows will freeze during the shutdown process. So if this happens, the Windows is shutting down message screen will stay active on your screen. So to finish shutting down the computer, press and hold the power button for about 10 seconds or until computers turn off. So when you encounter this problem, the Windows shutdown screen, you can see a shutting down, but the screen is still on, and you can still see the screen is. You can see the shutting down picture. Then you have to do the power button, press and hold for 10 seconds, then or until the computer turns off. So that is how we solve Windows shutting down message that is not disappearing. Then next we have computer begins randomly rebooting or crashing. So check for overheating and make sure that the vents in the case are not blocked. Then also confirm that there is good airflow around the computer, because it might be the problem that your computer begins randomly with rebooting or crashing. Then also update your antivirus software and scan for viruses, because these viruses may also cause randomly rebooting or crashing of your computer. So it will lead you to not using your computer anymore or damage for your computer. Then also we have problems with the monitor and speakers on how we diagnose it or how we fix it. So for example, no picture on the monitor. So first, confirm the computer is turned on. So it might be the computer is not turned up, so it will not literally show you light, or your monitor will not display images. Then also check the brightness control located on your monitor or your keyboard and make sure it is not set too low. So dapat we need to set our brightness control to in an average brightness. Then also check the connections for the monitor and surge protector and make sure that the surge protector is on or turned on. So the illustration below or the picture below illustrates or shows us that the cable plugged into the monitor. Then next, we have monitor goes blank periodically. So you may have the screen saver enabled. So if the screen saver is enabled, just move your mouse back and forth and your original screen will appear. You can change the screensaver settings by going to your control panel or your system preferences if you're using a Mac. So that is how we fix our monitor which is going blank periodically. Then no sound. So the picture shows that they are adjusting the sound volume on a Mac. So when there is no sound, we need to check the volume control on your computer, and then in Windows the sound icon will usually be on the taskbar, and you can also access the sound options in the control panel. On Macs, the sound options are found at the top of the screen or in system preferences. Then second, we need to most media programs such as iTunes or Windows Media Player have a volume control, which will need to be turned up or turned on. Then also make sure that the speakers are turned on if using external speakers. Then also make sure external speakers are connected to the correct audio port or a USB port. So if your computer has colored coded ports, then the audio output will usually be green. Then last, connect headphones to the correct audio port and determine if sound is audible and from the headphones. Then we also have searching the web for a solution. So if you still haven't found a solution to your problem, you may need to ask someone else for help. So try searching the web for the problem that you're having. So as other people may have had similar problems, also if you have a friend or family member who knows a lot about computers, they may able to help you. Then keep in mind that the most computer problems have simple solutions, although it may take some time to find them. So for every difficult problems, a more drastic solution may be required, such as reformatting your hard drive, reinstalling programs, or reinstalling your operating system. Then if you're not a computer expert, it's possible that you could make the situation worse. So it's the best to consult a professional if you think a drastic solution is needed for you to able to fix the computer's problem. So that is all for this week's discussion. Thank you and may God bless you. Then if ever you want to access this video again or you want to see it again, you can access it on our LCMS platform at lcms.gaitf.com.